And another thing which is an issue for some people is because they seem to sacrifice the time that they have with their friends and family to be in a job. And that's why they feel dissatisfied, because they think the work that they did, it could have waited to another day. And I'm only saying this because when it comes to a job, for example, you want to be satisfied, you want to be appreciated. I'm ready to get into this video, and I did part 1 and part 2 about job dissatisfaction, and I'm going to do part 3 today. So the main things I'm going to be talking about, for example, when you're in your job for so long, you think that you can do better, you're never really satisfied. And when you're never really satisfied, it's because I do get it that when I'm saying it, it sounds bad, but it's so true. Because, for example, when you see people uploading on LinkedIn all the things that they have accomplished, it's like a mirror to yourself of what you haven't really done. And in a way, I do get it that I'm speaking from my point of view. But in a way, you can get jealous of people, but it can also motivate you. But not jealous to the point where you don't do anything. Because when you don't do anything, you only have yourself to blame. When you're in your job for so long, you think that there's no other way of how to find another one. And when you're in your job for so long, it's because you've tried many different roles, but nothing seems to stick. And when you find that one role which you seem to be good at, they seem to keep you in that same role, that you're not able to progress because you're in the same role. And when you're in the same role for so long, it's because you eventually get bored and you want something new. But because you're good at that role and no one can really replace you, that's why you're in that job for so long. And I'm going to say this because, when you're fed up of your job sometimes, you feel like you would rather not have the job, and then you would rather go back to how you was before. But I think it's better that you stay where you are, and until you have a new job, that is when you're able to move on, learn something new. But there is good things about having a job, at least now, because you learn to develop your skills, and the best part about a job is really the people that you talk to. So it isn't always what you're doing, but it's about the people that you talk to. And another thing that I'm going to say is because there'll be days where you feel bad, you're not in the mood, and then something happened the day before, but you don't want to bring it into a new day. And that's what some people may do, and that's why they're dissatisfied. When people bring drama from what happened the day before into a new day, it becomes harder for you to focus, to really do your job. And another thing which is an issue for some people is because they seem to sacrifice the time that they have with their friends and family to be in a job. And that's why they feel dissatisfied, because they think the work that they did, it could have waited to another day. And I'm only saying this because when it comes to a job, for example, you want to be satisfied, you want to be appreciated. Sometimes you go above and beyond for a customer, but they seem to disregard you, they dismiss you. And because you're so good at your job, people expect you to do that all the time, regardless of how you feel. Some people will think that you're beneath them because you're working in a job which they wouldn't see themselves doing. And that's what I'm going to say, because when it comes to job dissatisfaction, it's not always the work, but it could also be the people. And that's one thing that I'm going to say, because as long as the people are supportive, they want to grow, and you want to be friends with people at your work and actually see them win, that is when a job isn't really that bad. So when you're not acting the way that you normally do in your job, it becomes an issue, because that is where you spend a lot of your time. And I'm going to say this because another thing which I've realized, when you're in your job for so long, you're afraid that people are going to see you, or you're afraid that people will know where you work. When it comes to a job, for example, you're there to just get the work done, you go in and then you go home. And that's a cycle that some people have, because all they do is work, and then they have no hobbies, they're not really spending time with family and friends, they're just on their own, and they're just thinking about how to get their bills paid. And that's what I'm going to say, because it's like a cycle, it doesn't seem to end. When it comes to job dissatisfaction, what makes it more satisfying is that you have people that you can talk to, that you're not just bottling things up to yourself. And I'm going to say this because throughout your job, you want it to be that the work that you do, it at least makes a positive impact. And you don't want it to be that throughout your shift, that you're thinking about when is it going to end all the time. And then when it does end, you're the first one rushing out, because that's what some people do. They just wait until the end of their shift and then they're the most happiest. I'm going to say this because when it comes to job dissatisfaction, for example, the reason why I'm still like working, for example, just like most of you, is because you want to make a living so that you can save money for the things that you really want to do. So that's why working in a job isn't all bad, because you just need a plan for a future. You shouldn't really be pessimistic all the time, where you think things won't work out, you're around negative people, you're not even waking up to look forward to anything. So that's what you don't want to be. So there'll be times where you think it's boring. There'll be times where you have conversations with people that you don't really want to. But then let me just say this, because you can't really say what you're going through every single day. Otherwise, if you keep saying it, people are just going to tell you to leave.